This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
It can incite nationalist fervor, political fervor, as we're seeing, or just a bad guy comes to town and he insults your town.
He's not talking about fights between politicians or TV pundits, but another American tradition, wrestling. Politics are making their way into the ring as partisanship continues to drive a wedge between Americans. But can we find common ground on Independence Day, the day that we celebrate the founding of our nation? Good evening, I'm Haley Wilgus. Alan is off tonight. We'll have more on what unites Americans in divided times coming up. But first, our top story, 7 stories at 7 on this Independence Day. In less than 2 hours, fireworks shows will get underway all across the Suncoast to celebrate the 4th of July. Most shows begin at 9 p.m., including those over Sarasota Bay, Siesta Key Beach, and the South Venice Jetty. The fireworks show over the Manatee River begins around 9:30 p.m. All of these shows are free and open to the public. For a full list of all the 4th of July events on the Suncoast, just head over to our website, mysuncoast.com. And the 4th is a chance to celebrate our freedom, but for some who fought for it, it can trigger symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Of the 2.5 million veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, 1 out of 5 is diagnosed with PTSD. Experts say the sound of fireworks can cause severe anxiety, loss of sleep, and irritability, among other symptoms. For one local veteran coping with this disorder, he says it's still important for veterans to enjoy this important holiday.
We fought for these freedoms. We fought for this ability for this holiday to happen. I mean, so this is something important as veterans. We need to understand that we need to celebrate as well.
For a list of resources available to those coping with PTSD this 4th of July and all throughout the year, visit our website, mysuncoast.com. And now everyone wants to know if the weather will hold up for the fireworks in just a couple hours. So let's head over to Steve, who's in for Bob tonight.
Haley, it's certainly going to be fine. I think the showers we've had earlier today that gave us a little start are gone, and we should be clear right on for the fireworks. By the way, the sunset tonight, if you look at our almanac, sunset is at 8:29. It takes at least 45 minutes for it to get dark enough to fireworks to get launched off. So that'll be about 9:15, 9:30 across most of the Suncoast. And here are the thunderstorms that had us concerned briefly coming out of Charlotte County, but they've washed out. We had one really strong storm right over the heart of Sarasota. It's also washed out. And if you zoom back and take a look at the whole state, you can see that there is nothing upstream. All those thunderstorms over South Florida are dissipating, so there's nothing blowing our direction. So this is almost a sure bet that we're not going to have any problem for the fireworks across the entire stretch of the Suncoast. It's 88 degrees right now at the airport, dew point 75. It has been feeling like as hot as 101 today, the feel like index before the storms kicked in. Here's our almanac. The high, actually, the air temperature, 92. Last night's low, 75. That's pretty close to normal on the low, a little warmer, and it felt that way today across most of the area. Here's our temperature forecast for the next 12 hours, cooling off into the low 80s before midnight and slowly cooling off to around our low temperature of 77, 78 degrees. And the all-important probability of precipitation, only 20% or less as we move to 9 o'clock, and then virtually no chance for the rest of tonight. We'll have our tropical weather outlook coming up in just a few minutes on ABC7. Haley?
Thank you, Steve. A restaurant on Siesta Key is closed tonight after a truck smashed through its front window. It happened around 9:30 this morning at the Lobster Pot on Ocean Boulevard. State troopers say a man driving a pickup truck lost control and went straight into the front of the building. The driver was taken to the hospital in stable condition. Troopers say a medical condition may have caused this accident. Manatee County Sheriff's deputies say 2 people are recovering after they were beaten and robbed last night. According to deputies, 2 men were walking to the Walgreens on 12th Street West in Bradenton when another man walked up to them and offered to sell them drugs. When the victim said no, the suspect attacked one of them. Several other people then got involved and reportedly began beating the 2 victims. The suspects took the men's money and ran off. The victims had minor injuries. Now to the city of Venice, where construction on a proposed affordable housing complex is making some progress. The Venice City Council is approving the first reading of the ordinance allowing a 510-unit complex to be built. However, the idea is not sitting well with everyone in the city, describing the prospective tenants in an email now as, quote, undesirables, drug addicts, thugs, thieves, and prostitutes. But others are dismissing that complaint.
I believe working with the private sector gives us the best chance to achieve a long-term, sustainable solution to the problem of attainable workforce housing.
The ordinance narrowly passed on its first reading. The second reading will be held with public comment in the coming weeks. A follow-up now on access to medical marijuana in the city of Sarasota. Commissioners are extending a ban on dispensaries. Last night, there was a unanimous vote to extend the ban for 60 days and to begin crafting an ordinance to regulate dispensaries. Sarasota Police and the city attorney urged commissioners to make that decision. Last October, the city put a 6-month ban in place. Sarasota Memorial is opening a new clinic in Sarasota's Newtown community tomorrow. It is located on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Way. The internal medicine practice expects to serve upwards of 1,800 patients in the first year. Staff will offer full adult primary and preventative care. The community can meet the physicians and tour the facility at a grand opening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Still to come, fighting over politics. Partisan division is affecting everything from marriages to an American tradition, wrestling leagues. Some are settling their differences in counseling, while others are taking it to the ring. We'll explain when we come back.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
My name is Luke Perry, and I am 1 million strong. I'm in the fight against colorectal cancer because I believe we can win it. Colon and rectal cancers are the second leading cause of cancer deaths among men and women in the U.S. Colon cancer is preventable. Know the risk factors and make sure to get screened. There are simple, take-home options available. Take control of your health. Screening for colon cancer isn't embarrassing. It can be life-saving. To find out more about your options, visit fightcrc.org.
The color in my garden keeps the pink in my cheeks. I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels. They're my savior. My name is Lola Silvestri. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
ABC7 News at 7, weeknights.
As we celebrate the 4th of July today, it seems fitting to talk about the Constitution that binds us together, specifically those words and that phrase that sum up what we're all about, we the people. Adam Cellini looks at what that means at a time when our nation seems so divided and so polarized. Adam?
Yeah, well, Alan, for many reasons, political parties seem to be moving further and further apart to the point that it's easy to forget we can all still identify as one group, Americans.
Fireworks have a way of bringing people together on the 4th of July, a moment of silence as we reflect on our country's freedom. This year, it could be more of a ceasefire between friends, families, and couples still fighting since last Independence Day.
A lot of people are very frustrated with their partners when they have a very
different opinion.
Every single person brought up something about the election. This has never happened before in my practice.
Therapists Lurleen Aslanian and Deborah Kaufman say fewer relationships are surviving in opposing political parties. Aslanian has even added it to her list of sacred cows, or things that are off limits for conversation.
You do not criticize someone's religion, for example, and some people's political views are as important to them as their religion.
There were people who were so upset by all the machinations of what went on in this past election.
When you say crazy zealot, are you talking about you?
What I call the basket of deplorables.
If he hadn't inherited $200 million, you know where Donald Trump would be right now? Selling watches in Manhattan.
For some, the insults that took over the presidential campaign were shocking. For 21-year World Wrestling Federation promoter Bob Collins, it was all too familiar.
In many respects, Donald Trump reflected the WWE Vince McMahon playbook by, frankly, insulting your rivals.
It's no surprise. Collins worked alongside Trump at multiple WWE events, some even shaping the future president as a positive force against the organization's meddling CEO, Vince McMahon. This past year, he helped create even more villains.
Crooked Hillary Clinton. The fake media.
It can incite nationalist fervor, political fervor, as we're seeing, or just a bad guy comes to town and he insults your town.
You people need to be reprogrammed. You continually vote against your own interests.
Today, it's led to the viral rise of Dan Stevens, the newest bad guy in Kentucky's Appalachian Mountain Wrestling League, a man whose ring name alone, the progressive liberal, can stir a crowd.
We're going to re-educate you. We're going to teach you to read and write. We're going to help you get jobs.
He's bringing an opposite perspective to what the people in the audience are expecting or wanting. And indeed, they're reacting viscerally.
But how much of our visceral reactions to the political arena can be attributed to a wrestling-inspired campaign strategy? Corporate leadership expert Doug Van Dyke says plenty.
My definition of leadership is 3 simple words: leaders impact culture. And it does have to do with behaviors, actions. You know, leaders set the tone for the whole organization and sometimes for the whole country.
Jack Riley, a political science expert who specializes in voter behavior, says people are more effectively sorted into political parties than ever, both online and geographically in certain parts of the country.
A lot of people like to say, you know, internet and social media and Twitter, like it's all ruining everything. It's also just basic factors of what we do for a living, how we live, and we're finding ourselves around more people that think like us for a variety of reasons.
So how do we escape the echo chambers? Aslanian calls for an end to the right and wrong approach to discourse. Kaufman says simply listen before you speak.
People are meant to be social beings, you know, and it's not just about couples and families, it's also in friendships.
Maybe we can start by watching the same fireworks light up the sky in silence and feeling something we haven't felt together in a long time: patriotic.
And Alan, there is a technique that therapists use that they think could also help mend political rivals' relationships: debating. But instead of sticking to your own beliefs, try arguing the opposite perspective. However, it might be best to save that one for after Independence Day.
We'll send them all to Washington.
There you go. Or
Thanks a lot, Adam. Coming up, a discussion about what is going on in our United States during anything but United times when we take it to the trapezoid.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
My name is Julius. I have cerebral palsy. I work for Farmer Jeffrey Weising Law Firm. I do a lot of data entry and scanning documents. I want to increase my working experience to make the company much better. At the end of the day, it's good to think of the day's work and to think about what I have accomplished.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.employflorida.com.
If you want 24/7 access to ABC7's breaking news stories, weather forecasts, traffic alerts, health reports, Suncoast View, and more ABC7 programming, now there's good news. Introducing the free ABC7 channel on Amazon Fire TV. Your 24/7 access to ABC7. Just search ABC7 on the streaming device and download the free ABC7 channel app. Or if you don't have an Amazon Fire TV, you can get one at Amazon.com.
Welcome back. This is not your typical 4th of July show, folks, so sit down, grab a drink, and let's talk. Earlier, I mentioned the preamble to the Constitution, we the people. What does that mean to you folks? Thomas Friedman, the great columnist, recently wrote, there is no we anymore because we no longer share basic truths. He goes on to say, this anger industry is now either sending us into comfortable echo chambers where we don't see the other or arousing such moral outrage in us towards the other that we can no longer see their humanity, let alone embrace them as fellow Americans with whom we share values. There are no two more perfect people to discuss this with than Frank Alcock, a New College political science professor who ran for state senate last year as a Democrat, and Christian Ziegler, Republican state committee man for Sarasota. Gentlemen, thank you and happy 4th. I was really taken by that Thomas Friedman column that was in the Herald Tribune. He goes on to say he fears that we are becoming Sunnis and Shiites. We call them Democrats and Republicans because the sectarianism that destroyed nation states in the Middle East is now infecting us. I mean, is that overstated, Christian?
Yeah, I think the narrative, I mean, my personal belief is the biggest problem that goes back to this is you have a 24/7 news cycle, you have social media. It's not all on the media, it's also social media and people being able to always want to talk about issues. So it's very polarizing out there. I think this is a perfect example. I mean, here you have Friedman, in here comparing us to Sunnis and Shiites, and they're setting the narrative and they're creating that to where it is highly polarizing. It's a highly polarizing topic to start with, and that's what we're responding on.
He goes on to say, when a liberal comedian poses with a mock severed head of Donald Trump, when the president's own son, Eric Trump, says his father's Democratic opponents, to me, they're not even people, you know that we're heading to a dark place. So it's not just the media, it is the people who are involved in the process.
I think there's three parts to this vicious cycle. The media is one part of it. I think another part of it, it's just the information age and what's happened technologically over the last couple of generations that has allowed certain things to happen in the media. And there are political strategies that work for getting elected that take advantage, and these things all feed one another. And I think, at the political level, it's as bad as Friedman makes out. But yet I think we can take a cross-section of Americans with very different political views, put them, in a camp for a week. If they're not talking about politics, you get to see that we have a lot of values in common. We care about our country, our communities, our families, and so it's corrosive right now. But I think it's misleading. We're being duped into thinking that we have more differences than we actually do.
And I think Frank's right with a lot of that analysis right there. And you look at, again, when you go back to the media and the way the information is, as you're talking about, it's not just the media and reporters and CNN or whatever. It's the fact that everyone's doing stuff to get sound bites. And you have like Kathy Griffin, when she did the severed head, right before she did it, she said, oh man, this is going to get so much attention, it's going to ruin my career. She was obviously doing it to get attention because that's what people want to cover. They love the, sex, violence, coverage. That's what gets news, that's what gets spread on social media. And that's what they're trying to fill. So whether it's elected officials, candidates, celebrities, they're all trying to get those sound clips.
I mean, was that what Eric Trump was trying to do when he said, to me, Democrats are not even people?
Well, when he said that, he actually the rest of the sentence I think was that they're vicious against my father. So it was kind of part of a sentence there. So I think it's not very fair to take that out of context for that one tweet. But let's be honest, both sides are guilty of it. And people get frustrated when their lives and their future of their country is at stake. I do sometimes as well. And, you know, I have 2 young girls. I have a 3-year-old. I have a 1-year-old. I care about the country that I'm going to be leaving them. So, yes, of course I get heated. But I try not to personally. I try not to get it personal, and I try to respect the other side. And it's a debate about ideas, not personality.
You know, Frank, you know, every day when, you know, every week we do our Friday political show, and I go back and I look at the viewer comments, and they're almost predictable, and it's very disheartening. It is disheartening in terms of the language that some people use about the president. It's disheartening with the language and what people say about the last president. Now, I mean, these are the viewers who are watching this show right now.
I agree. Often it's the people that are have the most extreme political views that are most heated. They're the ones that are watching these shows and sending in the comments. But it's very corrosive. It's very disturbing, and it's a cycle that reinforces itself. It's very troubling, and we continue because at the end of each cycle, somebody's getting elected, and right now it's the people that are, you know, really playing into this politics of destruction and demonization that tend to be winning. However, it's just not very good for running the country. So we're set up right now. I think we're moving in a direction where these election cycles continue to roll on, but we're not solving our country's problems.
All right, we are just getting started, and we will pick up the discussion right after we check on the weather.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny had been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Thanks to all of you who participated in ABC7's contest with a chance to win 4 Florida resident Disney Platinum Passes plus a 4-night stay at a Walt Disney World Resort Hotel.
So now it is time for our grand prize winner announcement.
Congratulations, Larry Phillips of Sarasota. Larry, his wife Carol, and their kids Bradley and Anna won a year of magic at Walt Disney World, where dreams come true. Congratulations from ABC7.
Thanks to my volunteer, I am a better reader.
Thanks to my volunteer, math seems simple now.
Thanks to my volunteer, I discovered new career goals.
I'm a volunteer for Sarasota County Schools, so I know I can make a difference. And you can too. Give an hour, change a life.
It was a sultry day today until some scattered showers passed over us during the mid-afternoon hours and cooled things off, but then the sun shone down on that and it made it steamy during the afternoon and evening. But still, I think we'll get rid of all the showers and thunder showers in time for the fireworks display that starts about 9:15 across most of our area. Temperatures at this hour pretty much in the 80s, a little rain cooling at Orlando, 76, and across our viewing area it ranges from 88 at Longboat Key, still 90 at Siesta, 83 at Northport. Now, the rain that we saw on radar earlier today was a little concerning coming out of Fort Myers over Charlotte Harbor, but it dissipated and has now moved offshore. That was the first problem. We had another strong storm developed right over the heart of Sarasota and then moved up in West Bradenton and dissipated out over Tampa Bay, and it's gone. There's nothing on radar. In fact, if we zoom back and look at the southern half of the state, where earlier there had been some storms, they've all pretty much dissipated as the heat of the day is easing up. So the chance of us getting anything for the fireworks tonight is pretty nil. However, in Washington, D.C., there on the Mall, they're going to have fireworks. They've had some showers, and there's another one heading their way from Winchester, Virginia. That could cause a problem, but for folks in New York City, for the Macy's fireworks display should be no problem with clear skies and mild temperatures. Here's a national weather scene. A lot of the country is going to have pretty decent weather for the fireworks display, although it is going to be hot in quite a few areas. Dallas, 93 right now. It's over 100 down in the Rio Grande, 110 at Phoenix. Nice in San Francisco where the fog's coming in, 70. That's the battle every 4th of July. Is the fog going to ruin the fireworks display over the Golden Gate? Taking a look at our tropical weather outlook, Invest 94 blew off the coast of Africa, and it has an 80% chance of developing into a tropical depression or tropical storm as early as tomorrow, but it's still a week away from posing any threat to North America. Meanwhile, the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico remain very quiet. Now, here's our futurecast for the next 48 hours across Florida. Scattered showers will develop. As that high pressure moves to the north, it's going to open the gate for the east coast sea breeze to bring in showers during the late afternoon, not only for tomorrow, but for Thursday and Friday as well. That's the big change happening in our weather. If you're going out in the beach tomorrow, southeast winds becoming southwesterly 5 to 10, seas 2 feet or less, but it's going to be hot even at the beach. The water and air temperature 90 degrees. And here's your 7-day outlook showing the chance of rain increases by Friday up to 50, 60% on Monday as well. But tonight we are in the clear for fireworks. I hope you get out and enjoy it. Be safe and have a wonderful 4th of July. Alan will be back with his discussion right after this.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
My name is Haley. I have Fragile X syndrome. I work with Chartwells at Einstein's and FAU. I like being up front and interacting with students. The students are very nice and very hungry. Having a job is a big ticket for independence.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here.
Why, you don't like my hair?
The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds. No.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm going to show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch the Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. You're gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Welcome back. It is Independence Day, a chance for us to come together as Americans, which has not been the easiest thing to do in these divisive times. Tonight we are discussing the things that unite us And those things that divide us, and our guests are joining us right now are Frank Alcock, the professor of political science at New College of Florida and former Democratic candidate for the Florida Senate, and Christian Ziegler, Republican state committee man for Sarasota. I don't know who it was who said this on one of the morning shows recently, but it doesn't, they said even prior to the election of Donald Trump, it almost does not seem that it's possible to manage this government with everything that's going on in Washington in terms of zero-sum games. If you win, I lose. I'm not going to do anything to help you, even if you have a good idea.
It's always been like that, running our entire country throughout the history of the country. I mean, remember back in the day, they were having duels. They were literally going outside and they were shooting at each other. I think, again, the difference is right now, everything gets covered. 24/7, they have to fill the sound bites, they have to have some kind of discussion, so they're moving policy by policy, issue by issue, scandal by scandal. Everything's on TV and everything's being debated. So we have access to more information, which is great, but it also highlights some of the dysfunctionalities within our government.
You know, Frank, I recently saw an interview with the former FBI, not FBI director, CIA director, Michael Hayden, who said that, you know, during the Balkan crisis, he had a chance to be there and observe really what is the thin nature between the breakdown of civilization itself, where, you know, we have not had a civil war in over 100 years, and although we have things like the civil rights movement and the Vietnam protests and those kinds of things that do sometimes produce violence, to him, where we are right now, it is easier for him to manage the breakdown of society because of the language that they're using in the heated rhetoric.
At political events, in political spheres, it's as ugly as I've ever seen it. I am concerned. Some people are taking this a little bit too far, far too far, but I don't think we're there yet. There is still a large segment of society, including myself, that likes to tune out of politics sometimes. And so whether it be playing in softball leagues or doing a lot of other things that I do on a day-to-day basis when I'm not wearing my political hat, I am interacting, again, with a diverse selection of our society, many of which have very different political views, and I don't care, and they don't care, and we're having a good time. And so you're seeing people as they are, far more than just the political identity that they have. And I think that's around just the country still.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Balkans. Actually, my father lives over there. My whole father's side lives in former Yugoslavia and Serbia. I was there right before the Civil War broke out. I actually had to leave a little early because of it. I used to live over there when I was a child. They have some deep-rooted you want to talk about polarization and hate, they have it deep-rooted there. When you look at America, again, I think it's something that the news media plays out, but as Frank kind of alluded to, the majority of the people, they care about having a job, getting a paycheck, they care about their families, being able to put food on the table, and that's what the majority of America really cares about. Now, mainstream media and social media and all that, they follow all the sexy topics, but it doesn't really go into the core fact, and that's why Donald Trump won, is he spoke to those people, and those are the core group of Americans. So I'm not worried about a civil war or anything, because that's what those people care about.
It's a 4th of July. I am one of the biggest baseball fans on the planet, and if you go to a baseball game, you certainly have a diverse group of folks there. Once in a while, you'll see somebody wearing a political shirt, but by and large, people are still there to enjoy, take their families out, watch the ball game. And so I don't think this divisiveness has penetrated throughout everything that we do as a society, but it is polarized and paralyzed our political institutions, and that to me is very troubling.
I agree with you. I love baseball. I love watching it. I love watching my kid play it, and I love the fact that I'm sitting around in a stadium where with people who are Republicans and Democrats and independents, every shade of every political persuasion, but you're there for the love of the game, and it is Americana at its most basic roots. But then again, you get things like, and I don't want to, this is not a gun control show, but the NRA just put out a controversial new ad where it talks about our president and their president, and it is so divisive. It's being roundly criticized by many members of the NRA and gun owners as going too far away from the debate over guns and into political extremism, and that is also part of our, our national blood flow at this point.
Yeah, but if you watch the ad, it's about protecting your individual rights in our Constitution. Yeah, I watched the whole thing multiple times. And what you don't mention is you want to talk about like government being obstructed and the inability to govern and what's going on with our country. This indivisible movement, you look at the indivisible, they put out and it's very effective, an entire document, a packet, how to obstruct, how to prevent governing from happening because Republicans are in control. And that's the whole movement. So, you know, an NRA ad or a complete movement of this indivisible movement, that's their goal is to obstruct, obstruct, obstruct. And it's very polarizing when you go to their events.
You see, it can go quickly, you know, look at one side's doing, and then look the other side, look at what you do.
Well, no, we were talking about the NRA.
I mean, I think some of the things that we need to be doing, I mean, getting back to respecting people as people and trying not to disrespect people, their values, or some of their priorities. We can have, you know, vehement disagreements over policy, but it's really important to start off with at least some common ground in terms of what reality is. And we're losing that too right now.
Is what essentially Thomas Friedman was writing about there. If you cannot agree that the sky is blue, and you cannot agree on basic facts,
yes,
then what chance is there for either side to agree on a common solution to the very real problems that we have?
That is where we are in a number of different areas, and there's nothing that you can do until you rebuild some common reality between two sides. And I think, again, part of this gets back into this balkanization of media, silo effects. Your internet, you know, your cookies know what you like, and it continues to feed you. So we're living in different realities that is very, very troubling. I can't snap my fingers and get us back to some common ground, but we can work on it. We can try.
Frank's exactly right. I mean, when I know on the digital advertising side, I've done it. I've helped out candidates. The way you can target, you can really dial into interest. You can shove a message directly in front of someone that fully agrees with it, that's going to share it, and they're going to go rabid with it, which is exactly what you do in a campaign. But the most important thing, which Frank touched on again, is you need to have that respect. And Frank and I don't think we agree on many issues. It's difficult to find any issues to agree with, but I have full respect for Frank. I think he's a great guy. He's in it for the right reason. He has actually facts, and he's able to debate issues, and that's important to see. But we may not agree, and we may debate when we're on TV here, but when it's over, you know, we're friends. We talk to each other. We're very cordial, and that's important for everyone really to do in the entire country.
But that's happening less and less, Christian.
No, I mean, it's happening less and less when you look at the media because, again, I mean, you're not so bad because you have a round table, you're encouraging debate and stuff, but when you look at some of these reporters, they're out there with an agenda, and you see them on Twitter and how snarky they are and how rude they are, and the message and the discussion, the media has a big responsibility. You set the tone in the community. You know, you can say that it's this group or that group, but when you go to the Democratic Party, they have maybe 100 people there every month. Republican Party, 200 people there every month. You guys turn on the TVs. You have thousands of people watching. You set the tone. So if we want to talk about what's the tone's crazy or whatever, you guys are the ones that are setting it.
All right, well, let's dip back into some partisan issues here because people are making the equation between an attack, let's say, on the president and pointing out whether a statement he makes is truthful or not. If you do that, that's not an attack. That's just pointing out truth versus reality.
Yeah, but there was like a Harvard study recently, about a month ago or so, over 80% of the stories about the president have been negative. You know, like even yesterday, okay, he sends a tweet. I mean, we've heard about Donald Trump's tweets for 2 years now, 3 years. American public don't really care about his tweets. They elected him after tweeting throughout the campaign, but he goes and he passes Kate's Law, he passes sanctuary cities, cracking down on those. That gets really no coverage. I was watching the top news, and they were leading off with tweets, but they weren't covering that.
Frank, and then I have another
question.
question.
I think that this particular presidency is just so distinctive. I'm not sure. And his strategy often is very manipulative with respect to the media, and sometimes it blows up and we have this spiral. But I think the rest of us need to not get too caught up with our views about the current president and come back. We need some heroes and some folks that are actually going to invest some capital and some energy into maintaining respect at all times and then trying to frame things in a way which sort of allow people to focus on what they have in common as opposed to just defaulting back into these tired old frames where we're yelling at each other.
All right, let's take another quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, so stay with us.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC filter hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
Save big during the 4th of July clearance and pay no interest for 48 months with same-day pickup or next-day delivery. This special purchase double reclining sofa for only $4.99. This special purchase white Florida bedroom for $5.99 and the matching nightstand is free. This special purchase Serta Perfect Sleeper Queen set for $3.99. Exclusively at the Furniture Warehouse in Sarasota, Bradenton, Veniceport, Charlotte, and Ellington.
And save big.
I am a veteran. My victory was finding the strength to be a champion.
My victory is having a job I can be proud of.
At DAV, we help veterans get the benefits they've earned.
My victory was finishing my education.
My victory was getting help to put our lives back together.
DAV provides veterans with a lifetime of support.
My victory is being there for my family.
Help us support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
Welcome back. The 4th of July commemorates the day our country declared its independence, no longer a colony of a foreign power, but its own nation. For 241 years, this day has been a reminder of the values our nation was founded on. But what does it mean to be an American today? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And let me set this up this way. You know, we have so many cable channels to choose from. What I love about this broadcast is I could have a Republican and a Democrat. You disagree on a lot of things, agree on some things, but so many people today, if you are a conservative, you watch Fox News and that's your main source of news and information. There are many people who only turn to MSNBC to watch because they want to hear that perspective. And what's lost on a large scale is listening to the other side and maybe saying every once in a while, geez, they have a point.
I think there's actually an opening there within this, again, this saturated media market, balkanized media market, and also within the think tank world for an organization that, with respect to their fact-finding, are impeccable, and they're very careful about how they frame things. They listen to people's concerns and they try to do an honest job about presenting, again, where we are and paths forward. I don't think there's any entity out there that's widely viewed as credible and compelling to a broad spectrum. And we all suffer because of that. But I think there's an opening, you know, this year, 5 years, for more entities to be playing the role that you're looking for.
And before you respond to that, isn't it possible, Christian, that one could take an objective look at something that someone does and objectively say, that's messed up?
I think so, yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, again, everyone comes to the table with their personal beliefs, their interests. That's why, like, when you're talking about Fox News, I mean, there's C-SPANs out there, right? And all they do is try to cover facts and exactly what's going on, but it's kind of boring. And that's not what people are eating up. They want the analysis, they want the background, they want the hyper, you know, discussion behind it. And then they want to go to social media and they want to continue it off air. So, you know, again, I think we go back, our country has fundamentally changed when we went away from ABC, CBS, NBC. We're 24/7 media. We got the Fox Newses, MSNBC, CNNs. And now you have social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever, that now it's opened it up to a 24/7 discussion, but it's all about sound bites. Everyone wants everything in less than a minute. And you can't really describe issues and dive into detail in less than a minute on these important issues.
Well, I don't know if we solved anything tonight, but it was a good conversation, and I appreciate both of you being here. Thanks for being here. Frank Alcock is a professor of political science at New College of Florida. He ran as a Democrat for the Florida State Senate last fall, and Christian Ziegler is a Republican state committee man for Sarasota. When we return, getting the veterans the care that they need, we'll take a closer look at emergency mental health care for the service of men and women who didn't get a dishonorable discharge in our For Your Benefit segment.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to save a life? Find out by donating platelets at Suncoast Blood Bank.
I'm Haley Wilgus, ABC7. Platelets aid in the clotting process and are vital in the treatment of cancer and surgical patients, trauma victims, and critically ill newborns. It's tough to keep enough on the shelves because they only last 5 days. To donate, call this number or visit scbb.org and you can help save a life.
ABC7 congratulates Suncoast Blood Bank on 65 years of serving our community.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
Welcome back. Our nation's independence was won in a war. Today, the United States remains embattled in conflicts across the globe, and yet the men and women fighting for our freedoms don't always receive the care that they have earned. In tonight's For Your Benefit segment, we want to discuss a specific group, those who received other than honorable discharges. They require services just like any other veterans, but they lose most of that benefit that comes with their military service. And joining us for more is government benefits consultant and consumer watchdog Jerry Zivick. Jerry, thank you very much for joining us. And I want to be clear about this. We're not talking about veterans who have dishonorable discharges. We're talking about those who were separated the service for a variety of different reasons, including PTSD.
Or some sort of misconduct. That's correct. There's it's a separate category, the OTH veterans. And it's really exciting what the Veterans Administration has announced. Starting tomorrow, for the first time ever, these veterans are going to be eligible for mental health benefits. And it's something that they really need.
I read that we're talking about an estimated 300,000 veterans in this category.
Yeah, it's a large number of veterans that are better served by the VA. There have been studies that have shown that when you have a veteran that goes to a private sector hospital or mental health center to get care, it's not as good as VA care. And it makes a lot of sense because the VA has a lot of experience in dealing with veterans that have PTSD, TBI, or any of a number of problems.
And the reality is, it's estimated that some 20 veterans a day commit suicide, which, really is a shocking statistic.
It's frightening. And that's what's really interesting about this. There's legislation pending in Congress to fix this problem, but the Secretary of the VA, Secretary Shulkin, went ahead and said he has the authority to go take care of this right now. He said suicide prevention is one of his #1 priorities. He started talking about this in March, and here we are. It's going to be July 5th, and there's going to be a new program in place.
Which is really kind of interesting for the VA, which has been so criticized over years now for the slowness of the responses to reality.
Yeah, it's great to see them act so quickly. Let's see whether or not there's going to be continued funding for the program.
That was my next question, because it's all well and fine that the VA secretary does this, but if you do not have the adequate funding coming out of the Congress to handle what will be more former servicemen and women handling or using these services, then you're going to have a whole other problem.
Well, we've talked about this before on the show, funding for the VA, and there are some great plans and some great ideas, but if there's not going to be the money to back it up, our veterans are going to be in trouble. And these OTH veterans have talked about for years. They've advocated that they were broken because of their service. So what's the old expression? You break it, you buy it. And it's nice to see the VA go out and actually take care of these vets. And actually, it'll be nice to see if the VA can actually expand some of the assistance they give vets in this category.
Finally, where do you draw the line in terms of other than honorable discharges, in terms of services that you offer to veterans or people who do not qualify because of the nature of their separation?
I don't actually know that you actually should draw a line. I'm sure you've heard me say this. If you served, you should get benefits. End of story. Unless you've committed a crime, I think you should be awarded some type of benefits, if not all of the VA benefits, because you've put yourself at risk. And if there was an emotional problem or some other problem that stopped you, you should still get benefits.
All right, Jerry, thank you very much. Jerry Zivik is a government benefits consultant and consumer watchdog. He joins us every other week in our For Your Benefit segment. Your primetime headlines are coming up right after this break.
Okay. Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Save big during the 4th of July clearance and pay no interest for 48 months with same-day pickup or next-day delivery. This special purchase double reclining sofa for only $4.99. This special purchase white Florida bedroom for $5.99 and the matching nightstand is free. This special purchase Serta Perfect Sleeper Queen set for $3.99. Exclusively at the Furniture Warehouse in Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice, Port Charlotte, and Ellington.
And save big. Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish! In your face! In your face!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Now for your primetime headlines, world leaders are still reacting to news North Korea launched yet another missile. And if claims are true, the regime's first intercontinental ballistic missile launch shows that it could reach U.S. soil. ABC's Janae Norman has the latest reaction from Washington.
Maybe marking a milestone. Images show North Koreans clapping and cheering on the heels of the latest missile launch. The regime claims it's the 11th so far this year, and U.S. officials have confirmed it's North Korea's first intercontinental ballistic missile launch ever, one that could reach Alaska.
This is a very worrying development.
Officials said they'd been anticipating a North Korean launch, and the latest signifies the rogue nuclear power can fire its missiles on short notice, only adding to the escalating tensions between the U.S. and North Korea. Russian and Chinese leaders are suggesting Pyongyang put a moratorium on any more missile launches in exchange for the U.S. and South Korea holding off on large-scale military drills. Analysts say it's important not to overestimate the threat of North Korea adding the regime doesn't want to see war on the Korean Peninsula.
North Korea knows there could only be one outcome of any second war on the Korean Peninsula, which is the end of North Korea as a state, as a separate state. This is it's not something it wants to see happen.
For months, President Trump has tried to get China, North Korea's most important ally, to intervene and help de-escalate the situation. But so far, that hasn't slowed those missile tests. Janae Norman, ABC News, Washington.
Now to Iraq, where after 8 months of fighting by U.S. coalition forces in Mosul, ISIS is finally on the brink of defeat there. Today, they control less than a square mile of Iraq's second largest city, and the fighting is still intense. ISIS fighters have been hoarding food and water, creating a humanitarian crisis for the thousands of civilians still living in the city. The Trump administration is responding to Hawaii's motion to clarify the president's travel ban. The state asked for clarification on who is and who is not covered by the ban that went into effect last week. The Supreme Court allowed parts of the executive order to move forward, with exceptions for those who have a bona fide relationship with a person in the U.S. Hawaii argues the administration was wrong to not include grandparents as one of those relationships. In a brief, the administration says it is complying with the Supreme Court's decision. Hawaii has until Thursday to reply to the brief with a court challenge. New Jersey's state parks and beaches have reopened today just in time for the 4th of July. Late last night, Governor Chris Christie announced a budget deal to end the state's government shutdown. The governor also addressed the criticism over his family's visit to a beach near his residence. The state-run beach was closed to the public as part of the shutdown.
Let's be really clear. That's our residence, and we have a right to be there whenever we want to be there.
Social media had a field day with the now trending hashtag Beachgate, sparking memes of the lounging governor dropped in iconic scenes from the Oval Office to Forrest Gump. The state of Maine is also enacting a new budget, ending a 3-day government shutdown there. All non-emergency government functions were frozen during the impasse. Normal operations have now resumed. That's all the time we have for tonight. I'm Haley Wilgus. We will see you right back here at 11. Have a happy 4th of July. Thank you for joining us on this Independence Day. Enjoy whatever festivities, fireworks you're participating in tonight.